G'day everyone, and welcome to this information snippet about the SSSI Firewater Map-a-thon, lined up for the 31st of October 2020 and running for a full 24 hours around the globe. Find out more at ssi.org.au/events. This map-a-thon is leveraging the power of citizen science to collect information on static water supply infrastructure to help in bushfire preparedness efforts. In late 2019 and early 2020, Australia was hit by horrific megafires, and since then, fires have been burning around the world. SSSI are grateful to our sponsors, without which this map-a-thon would not be possible. The Victorian Government, Geoscience Australia, ICSM, NEARMAP, NGIS, the Grow Data Foundation, and the International Federation of Surveyors Volunteer Community Surveyors Program. Joining us today, we have Andrew Sargent, a volunteer firefighter on Kangaroo Island from the New South Wales Fire and Emergency Services, interviewed by Claire Buxton from the International Federation of Surveyors Young Surveyors Network.
Okay, so I'm here with Andrew, who is in Adelaide, South Australia area.
Crystal Brooks are about 2.5 hours north of Adelaide.
Nice. And where are you right now?
Standing in the local fire station with a couple of trucks in the background there.
Beauty. So I had a few questions here for you, as I've told you before. I thought we'd run through them and let others know why we're doing this map-a-thon and what you see the value in it is. So firstly, I see in your various emails you've got the many hats that you wear. Can you run through your various roles that you have?
Yeah, so some of the ones you've probably seen is the Growing Data Foundation. So that's a non-for-profit organisation based in Adelaide that's was set up after a GovHack 3 or 4 years ago to promote the use and sharing of open data. And they're the ones that have been driving this firewater project. I'm also a volunteer firefighter with our local brigade here and a farmer. So that's probably the three you've seen so far.
Yeah, it is. Any other hats?
Bits and pieces here and there, as it is when you live in any country town. So
yeah, I'm sure. Master of many. So in your role on the Growing Data Foundation, what do you get up to?
I haven't been overly active on there. They had the AGM the other night and I really wasn't there.
That's right, you were busy harvesting.
We were actually. So no, I'm a committee member. I've only been involved with them for the last 18 months. But yeah, I like what they're trying to do with the promotion of open data. So yeah, just keen to get involved with them and help them where I can.
Okay. We'll get into the open data later on, but the second question I had for you was reflecting back on last year, the bushfires in Aussie. I was certainly helplessly looking on from over here in Vancouver, not really knowing what to do. I was just wondering, in your experience as a volunteer firefighter, what you would say about the rate of bushfires in Australia. Do you think they're getting worse?
Yeah, well, if anything, if last year was anything to go by, unprecedented was thrown around in every single news report that we had. But it was definitely a bad year last year for fires, and probably the longest run of fires that we've ever had. So yeah, we don't need another year like that. Yeah. Hopefully it was a one-off at the end of a drought. The season this year's turned around for big parts of Australia. We've seen rain I haven't seen for probably 3 or 4 years. So fingers crossed we might be out of that phase, but it's something we're going to have to deal with again in the future, I'd imagine.
Yeah, because you're saying it rained yesterday. So is that usual around now?
It's not usual in October. It's not ideal in October. Yeah. Since we've started cutting hay and harvesting, we've had probably more rain than we've had for a long time.
Yeah. Have you been in that area of Australia for a long time?
Yeah, so we've been farming here since 1906, I think.
Oh, right.
Not myself personally, but yeah, our family's been here since then.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is probably it's looking to be one of the wetter harvests that we're going to have. So we're in for some testing times, I think, but we'll get...
Yeah. Okay. So the next question I have, as I said before, I don't know a lot about bush firefighting or firefighting at that. But what would you say a usual call out would look like?
They're usually not at the most convenient times. So our brigade, it's a rural brigade. Predominantly, we do grassland firefighting. We do a bit of road crash and structure fire stuff as well, but the majority of our call outs are during harvest, summertime for grass fires. And yeah, usually you'll get a page, you'll be in the middle of doing whatever you're doing, you'll drop that and you'll race up to the station here, get changed in your gear, jump on the truck and off you go. Quite often with very little detail on where you're heading or what to expect. It'll just sort of say grass fire at this address. You get out onto the highway and you can see the smoke and you can sort of get an idea on what you're heading into.
So just so I understand, is your volunteer role, is it all fires that you're fighting, or is there a special unit for bushfires?
No, so pretty much each town around here will have a fire brigade, a volunteer fire service, except for the cities where they have a paid service. We've just got volunteer fire brigades in each town, and they generally do all firefighting, any road crash rescue, structure fire, any other sort of general emergency stuff for the most part. There's also the SES, which do sort of storm damage and some road crash stuff as well. But firefighting is done by the CFS.
Okay, right. So I had a few other questions left. I note that we haven't got too long. So once you get called out, how do you find, say it's a bushfire setting, how do you find water sources?
Luck. So
I heard mention of water divining in one of the websites there.
It does get a bit that way sometimes. One thing the CFS has moved to in the last few years is having like a bulk water carrier. So when we respond in these trucks behind us, they're the actual firefighting appliances, but they'll also send out a tanker. So when we run out, we can go to the tanker and fill up, but that tanker's only got enough water to fill up probably 3 or 4 trucks, and then they've got to go and find water. So if we've got a tanker at a fire, that sort of buys us a bit more time, because at a running fire, we'll probably empty one of these trucks in 10 to 15 minutes. So then you're off to try and find water. So we're in our area, it's mainly hydrants. So the mains water supply, where you can hook into that and get water from there. But you need to know where the hydrants are, how accessible they are, how fast they are, because quite often in these rural areas, you're on the end of a main, so it might only be a small pipe and there's not a lot of flow. And then the other option is static water supplies, so farm tanks is probably the main one here. We don't have the soil type for dams, so it's pretty much most of the tanks on sheds, but we don't always know where they are. We don't always know if there's water in them, how much water's in them, that sort of thing. So quite often you get to a fire and the first thing someone will be doing is trying to work out where we can go to get water from, because that's a pretty important thing. The way we fight fires here, we fight them with water, and without water we're not much good. So
when that person is looking for sources, are they literally calling around the neighbours? Because I guess you all know each other mostly around the area. Yeah,
so quite often we're supported by farm fire units. So local farmers all generally got a fire unit as well, and they'll be at a fire, and there'll be someone there whose property it's on, or it's their neighbour, and we'll just sort of ask around and call out and see who knows where the nearest water supply is. But it's quite often, like I think I mentioned it to one of the other guys the other day. Last year we got called out from here for a strike team to Port Wakefield, which is about 100 k's south of here. So we left here, we went down there, we got that fire out. It was a pretty bad day for fires that day. There was another fire down the York Peninsula, which was another 150 kilometres south from where we were. So we got tasked down to Yorktown. So we were 250 k's away from home, in pretty unfamiliar territory, places we'd only been on holidays.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were totally reliant on other people down there to sort of tell us what was available, where it was available, what worked, what didn't work. Yeah, and that's a pretty common.
Yeah. So this is really where the map-a-thon is going to help, isn't it? The goal is to be able to create a GIS of all the locations of water sources, and so that would mean that the person trying to find water sources should be able to go into this app, right? The Firewater app.
Yep. So the idea with the Firewater app is that we can map all these static water supplies beforehand, and we can get an indication of the level of water that's in those supplies, so we know how much is there, and as the fire goes on, we know how much is left. We can also map the hydrants and provide feedback on the hydrants, because water supply infrastructure is ageing, and there's hydrants that aren't the best ones to use for fear of damaging the network. So if we can know which ones we should be using, which ones we shouldn't be using, and that's going to make our job a lot easier. If it means we've got to travel an extra kilometre, but we can get a better quality water supply, then that's probably time better spent for us.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so through your involvement on the, are you a water warrior? I saw that there was a water warrior term given to some of the firewater people.
No, that was the name of the team for the entry into the Gulf Hack, was the Water Warriors. Yeah.
I like it. So how much would you say you've used a GIS or some sort of mapping in your roles, both as a farmer and as a firefighter?
Yeah, on and off. We use it a bit in our farming business for like we measure yield across the paddocks and apply fertilisers sort of across the paddocks and soil amendments. So yeah, we've done a fair bit with it in our farming business. In the CFS side and the firefighting side of it, probably not a lot. We still use map books quite a bit. So yeah, it'd be pretty nice to see the benefits that we can see using GIS in our farming business, to be able to use that fire truck. I think would be pretty revolutionary. Yeah,
good. Yeah, it's good that you've got experience in using it, and I'm sure that most of you will be well equipped to be using it. It's relatively user friendly, so hopefully it actually provides value. I'm sure it will.
Yeah, user friendliness is probably one of the most important things, I think. Going for this. GIS can be a bit testing at times.
Yeah, user friendly and the ability to give feedback, I'm sure. So with fire hydrants that you are sure are not good, is there going to be a backwards feedback option to work with the council to improve it, or is that a longer term outside of the project sort of thing?
Yeah, I guess we'd like to put a feedback form in it, probably as much for our use, because I guess there's hydrants that the SA Water, like the Water Authority, don't want us to use because we could risk damaging the pipes. But then there's also hydrants that are slow or hard to get a standpipe into, which just for our information, knowing which ones they are makes it easier for us. I can't see changes being made to the water network based on what we want, but if we can at least get an understanding of where the good ones are and where the not so good ones are, it can make our life a bit easier. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I've actually taken you way over 5 minutes, which I tend to do. It's really interesting talking to you. I have one final one, just around the technologies that will assist with the firewater, like the whole package. There's something about low cost, long range radio tech. Is that just the communication side of things?
Yeah. So that long range radio technology is LoRaWAN, which is it's just a type of IoT radio transmission.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you'll use that and the GIS map together, and that is Firewater.
Yeah. Yep. So the idea is that we'll have sensors on the tanks, on the water supplies, that'll be sending back real-time data on the level of the tank. We'll have that location mapped in the GIS, and then we'll be able to feed that real-time data into that mapping layer to keep it updated with how much water is actually in those tanks.
Right.
And then provide routing data for trucks to get to that water supply.
Right. That makes sense. Now it all comes together. I'm glad I asked that final question. Okay, well, did you have any final comments you wanted to make before we end the recording?
No, I think I'm good.
Yeah, did I miss anything? Is there anything you've been burning to tell me?
No, I think so. That about covers it.
Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to what SSSI do with the Map-a-thon and see how it comes along. So yeah, pretty glad they've got on board with it.